I know that after the career in Coca Cola, where you achieved fantastic in a lot of countries that at the moment are fast growing economies, but in a lot of situations, I know that they were not even basic infrastructures and things like that. But now it's a big part of the world economy, and probably more of the future of the world economy is going more on these countries. So let's touch, how did you then, after this fantastic career, and there's a lot of other achievements, but how did you end up actually with the BCCT, where we actually been doing a fantastic work as well? So you want to tell us a bit about, for people that don't know, what is BCCT, British Chamber of Commerce of Turkey? I mentioned at the beginning, but coming from you, and as well the work you're doing and how it works, the British Chamber of Commerce, because I think it's an important thing as well to highlight. It's part of the one of the biggest strengths of the British economy, this kind of chambers, and I'm a huge, of course, the fan of chambers of commerce, and it's a key element for businesses.
No, thank you, Dinis. And yes, leave the best till last, if you like, but it's not the last anyway. But yeah, I mean, I retired from all my responsibilities in Coca Cola in 2011, and it was an opportune time for me to look at other opportunities where I could again add some value. And at that particular point in UK. David Cameron was Prime Minister, and he was getting concerned that the UK was not as active or effective in terms of its export strategy, and we were actually losing our market share to other countries. We'd always been in the top 5 global exporters, and we'd slipped to number 6 or 7. I can't remember exactly what. And he appointed Lord Green, Stephen Green, as a trade minister at that particular time. And he challenged him to come up with, a solution in order to bring both the experience, knowledge, and expertise together under one umbrella from around the globe, where the British companies had a strong presence. And that meant it was UKTI then, UK Trade Investment. And, he came up with a very innovative and creative solution where he wanted to bring, the government's trade agencies, British government trade agencies, together under one umbrella with the business NGOs, British business NGOs globally. And, that's what happened. And there was a launch in 2013, a pilot of the 20 fastest growing emerging markets globally, where this pilot would be run. And Turkey was one of those. And given I knew our diplomatic team quite well, we had some discussions, and they were looking, to move the British Chamber of BCCT forward into a more business-facing organisation, and they were asking me if I could, sort of contribute to that. It was a bit difficult because there was an existing chairman, and he wasn't totally encouraged to, or feeling that he wanted to be part of this. So we had to do 2 negotiations. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I recognise the benefit of bringing those networks together globally to support UK exporters and bring more infrastructure. And so I took over in mid 2013 as chairman. And the first task I had was to look at the current capability of the chamber to see how we matched with Lord Green's mission and vision in order to provide a range of business services to UK exporters and create a sustainable infrastructure for them. And so the first year was all about restructuring, bringing in new people with the right skill sets. We were contracted to, let's call it DIT now. Well, it's changed again. It's not DIT anymore. But with that government trade agency, and we had targets set in order to export wins, export opportunities, a whole range of responsibilities that we now had. Have improved ourselves over the first 18 months. That we'd structured ourselves in the right way, and we brought in the right capabilities to handle that. And again, it came back to trust. I keep mentioning trust. They trusted us to actually deliver. And we continued as a subcontractor to the trade agency in Turkey up until March last year, which was a change in policy back in London, which I won't bore you with. But and we were successful. We provided professional support and a more seamless engagement back to UK. And we did all the B2B inquiries, because that's we have business people, that proved very successful, and we were one of the most successful in achievements of the other chambers of commerce overseas. Not all of them survived, because funding was provided by the British government, and some of them were not reaching their targets. Therefore, the funding was removed, and rightly so in some cases. But as I say, we maintained our success rate. We ensured that we were on the same page with our colleagues in the consulate and the embassy, and that was another important factor. In that we were on the same page. We were open book transparency. We shared all our issues on how to enhance and increase our service delivery to UK exporters. We actually were used as an example and a benchmark for other chambers of commerce who were also making that journey. So we also advise some fledgling chambers in Central Asia, in Azerbaijan and Kazakhstan, Georgia. So we did build a reputation. That reputation continues, and we've also created more platforms that again provide more information, more security, that make the journey for exporters more risk-free, and that's the biggest concern that UK exporters have is the risk element. And we've tried to persuade them that Turkey is a destination with enormous potential, and that's been an ongoing strategy to keep Turkey on the radar for UK companies, to ensure that they don't miss the opportunity. Because I've mentioned before, Turkey still has an enormous headroom for growth, both regionally and domestically. And we played a role in that together with our colleagues and friends in the consulate. And we are also an example in Turkey as one of the most active chambers, international chambers in the country. Now I know that for a fact because we have a group called what we call the European Chambers. So that's basically the EU countries, chambers of commerce. And we agreed to form an informal group about 6 years ago now, whereby we would meet regularly and discuss common issues, which we were dealing with, either with governments or other domestic problems, barriers, because we felt that if we spoke with one voice, then we'd get more response than if we tried to deal with these things individually, which again comes back to my point about inclusivity. Now we left the EU at the end of 2000, midnight 2000, and when was it? 20, yeah. That was a dramatic shift in terms of our relationship with Turkey. You may be aware of the situation, that unique situation that Turkey was in and still is. I mean, as we left the EU, Turkey still has a customs union agreement with the EU. So until we had negotiated, UK had negotiated a free trade agreement with the EU, we could not negotiate a free trade agreement with Turkey under those conditions. So the first thing that had to happen in order to have a continuity agreement with Turkey, between UK and Turkey, was for the UK government to agree a free trade agreement with the EU. Once that was done and dusted, then we could negotiate a free trade agreement with Turkey, and it was a continuity agreement. It happened, but there was a wonderful politician in the UK called Liz Truss, who you may have come across. I won't talk about her too much. Don't have a lot of faith in her, but and it was all done at the last minute, and we were involved in that discussion. You know, it ended up being a digital signing between Christmas and New Year, and it was that last ditch that we managed to protect our interests in Turkey, and particularly the big Turkish companies that were exporting to UK, particularly in textiles, because their customers like Marks and Spencer and Asda and Sainsbury and whatever, were preparing for their summer summer fashion ranges. And if we hadn't signed the free trade agreement, then that would have changed the whole relationship, and they were actually questioning whether they should be, the British customers should be looking for alternative suppliers. So it was a very tense period of time, but we were involved in that, and we helped to facilitate some of those transactions in order to get the job done, albeit the last minute. And unfortunately, we didn't get much support from London, but there we are. It was done. So yeah, Turkey now, we have a free trade agreement with Turkey. Part of that free trade agreement was a clause that enabled the free trade agreement to be renegotiated and enhanced within 2 years of its journey. Those negotiations are held back at the moment, and they're held back because of the elections. So that's been delayed somewhat, but the confidence that Turkish companies have in UK is very high. It's a destination for startup companies in terms of investment, particularly in technology. That's the destination lots of Turkish tech companies prefer, and that's something that we've seen a big increase in inward investment into UK, mostly in the tech sector, and that will continue because funding in Turkey is currently problematic. So UK and Turkey will always have a strong trading investment relationship, and we're very much part of that equation, and that's what we'll continue to develop. And adding the open business platform, not platform, yeah, but the platform is going to be enormously valuable to the way we bring in Turkish companies into that platform, because it will be enormously beneficial for them. And we have the networks, we have the databases, we have everything in place where we can then look at the target companies, which ones fit the criteria. I've already spoken to a number of organisations that are very keen to join the Business Council. And as I say, I think it's a major opportunity through BCCT to actually get this off the ground and working very effectively. And as I mentioned to Dinis before, I mean, that group of EU chambers of commerce, they're very interested in what we'll be doing, because it affects them as much as it does anybody else, because their members also want that access to global networks and platforms. So we're in good shape. We're looking very confident and excited about the future. And as I say, it's something I'm particularly proud of in terms of making BCCT this major player in Turkey, but also with a wider reach into the region. And as I say, we've got some very good people. Our team are excellent. I'm very proud of them. And we've got Merve, who's joining us as well. Very welcome. That adds to the credibility of what we're trying to do. So BCCT has been a very important opportunity for me. I never expected to do it. That was a surprise. I didn't know anything about Chambers of Commerce, but once I understood, what was needed, then I realised that I could bring something of value in terms of business organisations and cultures and systems and corporate governance and all the things that you need to have a credible, transparent, trustworthy organisation that people can rely on to support them in their journey on export.
So Chris, first of all, congratulations on the work. And as well, I know that it's not easy to manage chambers of commerce or any organization international for any means. It's a massive task, and especially the Turkish economy is a much more powerful economy than people probably have conscious, especially unless you deal with Central Asia. And of course, it comes from an empire and a lot of different things, and it's still one of the top 20 economies in the world, but it's facing, like we mentioned, a lot of challenges.